What's up, Patriots Nation? I'm Alexi Iafrato here with Patriots beat writer Kevin Duffy. We're here at Gillette Stadium to talk about the top things you need to look out for heading into tonight's preseason matchup, Patriots and the Panthers, here in Foxborough. So Kevin, first things first, let's kind of talk about the Patriots draft class. They've been looking really impressive. Obviously, a little early to tell who's going to be those future impact players for the Pats, but there are some really strong contenders that we've seen so far. Three of them that I know we both agree on: Chase Winovich, Jacoby Myers, and Jared Stidham, who Karen has coined Stid the Kid, so get it trending. So they've looked really promising so far, but how do you see them progressing moving forward?
Well, I think, as you said, it's early, but they haven't had a draft class like this in a while. I think when you combine what they have with the 2019 class, and 2018, where you have Sony Michel, Isaiah Wynn's probably going to be your left tackle. We'll see how good he ends up being. J.C. Jackson's probably going to be a starting cornerback. Jawan Bentley's the starter. Then you throw in like Keon Cross, and you could have 4 or 5 like high impact players from the 2018 class. 2019, you might be looking at another 5 or 6. So
Absolutely,
suddenly they kind of have this infusion of youth that they lacked, I think, through 2016 and 17, and it didn't really slow them down then. They were going to the Super Bowl every year, but it reached a point where they needed to have a few draft classes like this in a row. 2016 and 2017, they really only had like Joe Tooney, Jonathan Jones, Landon Roberts. There wasn't that much coming out of those draft classes. So to have what they had in 2018 and the early returns on the 2019 class have been great. I think that not only are those guys going to contribute this year, but they're well positioned to have a pretty solid roster going into the 2020s.
Absolutely, and Nikhil Harry has had a lot of media hype around him. He's been looking a little stiff, maybe some would say a little underwhelming based on all the hype that was around him being the first round pick. So how do you see him moving forward? I mean, I know it's early and some people just get into the rhythm slower than others. So how do you think?
Yeah, Nikhil Harry, well, he's dealing with a couple of minor injuries, and I'm told he should be good to go for week 1. So that's good, but he's missing practice time right now, and he's a guy who probably needs to be on the field as much as possible. He's a hard player to evaluate a little bit. As you said, he's kind of a stiff mover. He's just so muscle bound. If you looked at him without a jersey number, not knowing what position he played, you would think he's probably a defensive end or a linebacker. He's very big. So he's one of the most physically imposing receivers in the league, and he's not going to really run away from a lot of people. But he's so strong and he's so good on contested catches that he makes up for what he lacks in quickness, and maybe his acceleration isn't quite what some other outside receivers have. But so I guess all I'm trying to say is he's a hard player to evaluate just because he's got a very different skill set because of how big and physical he is. I think there's been some promising things from him. You saw in the Lions game. In the Lions game, he made a great catch on a 3rd and 10 on a little comeback route, and then the one that he got hurt on, the 25-yard reception, he went up and he just outjumped the Lions corner for it. So I don't know what his production is going to be statistically in his rookie year, but I think he's going to be someone when they're in the red zone, they're throwing fades to him, they're throwing slants, they're taking advantage of his big body down there. I could see him having maybe only like 500 yards for the season, but 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Right, he's going to be like a Gronk where he makes those big plays, like you said, big body, contested catches. That's something they really need, and it's something that they're going to lack losing Gronk this year. Yeah,
they not only with Nikhil Harry, but you have Josh Gordon back, you have Demaryius Thomas. They have a lot of size at wide receiver. There are 20 receivers in the NFL that are 6'3", 225 pounds, and the Patriots have 3 of them. So that's the most of any team in the league. So they've definitely surrounded Tom Brady with some like guys who can get thrown open. They don't even have to be open. Brady's got to put the ball near them and they can make a play.
Absolutely. So moving just from rookies, the preseason obviously is for the rookies to show what they've got to hopefully get a roster spot, but it's also for those 2-year, 3-year guys that are still trying to find their spot on the team, that may be stepping up to fill a role that's kind of underwhelmed. So which guys have been impressive and which guys are kind of falling flat in your opinion?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, it's a very competitive roster, so even some guys who have had some good moments, like I would say like Obi Melifonwu, who's I guess he's a 3rd-year safety. It's his 2nd year with the Patriots. Very athletic guy, probably would make most teams, but I would say he's on the outside looking in because he's been a little inconsistent. And another guy who falls in that category is Duke Dawson, 2nd-round pick from 2018. Didn't really play as a rookie. He was on IR. I shouldn't say didn't really play. He literally did not play. He was
not at all.
Not at all. He was on IR, got activated, but was a healthy scratch for all the games that he was on the roster. He's had a tough camp. He has not played well against the Lions, and especially against the Titans. He really struggled in that game. He's made some plays in practice. It hasn't been all bad, but if you're looking at that depth chart, it's just hard to find a place for him because there's 6 guys that are better than him.
Yeah, you can't squeeze into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to carry 7. 5 corners is usually the max that they'll carry. They might carry 6 this year because Keon Crossland's so good on special teams, but it's hard to find a 7th spot for Duke Dawson. So he might be looking at a position where he needs an injury to happen for him to make the team. Or he needs to really turn things around. There's still some time. We have 2 weeks left of training camp. He's got 2 games to go. And he's going to get, even though the starters are going to play a little bit tonight, I assume, Dawson's going to get a lot of time in the second half and the second quarter. So he's got the opportunity. He's just got to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for joining me. Stay with us before, during, after the game. We're going to bring you live coverage right here from Gillette with our team, so stay with the Herald.